Today is the Elephant Day, the World Elephant Day. So on the eve of the Elephant Day, at Rare India, we did several initiatives, some lovely stories to tell. Welcome again. It's great to have you here, Shiv Simha. For those of you who've followed us, you know Shiv Simha was with us telling stories, I think in the month of April. And again, he is here today to tell us stories from my mythology and folklore. Today is World Elephant Day. It's also Janmashtami in some parts of the world. In South, we celebrated it yesterday. But I think in the north, people are celebrating Janmashtami, and a happy and a holy Janmashtami to all of you. It is, I mean, we celebrated the Elephant Day today, but the core principle is the same. We're going to be talking about love for the animal, love for our fellow beings, and generally about our attitude towards animals in the tourism business. And that's what we've been doing. We've been posting a lot of lovely stories, and today I thought, I mean, there is the whole scientific and the conservation angle to it. That said, there is also a huge spiritual angle when you talk about elephants, and that can't be taken away. In fact, Shiv, I want to tell you something very interesting. We had a webinar just now where Karthik Satyanarayan, who is from Wildlife SOS, and I spoke to you about him. He has a wonderful elephant care and conservation center very close to Agra, right? And where he actually houses 30 elephants. These elephants have been obviously they've been pulled out from the wild a long time ago as babies and trained to do things that doesn't seem like elephant behavior typically. So some of them are begging elephants, some of them have been used for work, weddings and things like that, and most of them come to him in a very hurt and highly exploited state. And when we were talking, one of the things, of course, the host of the event of the webinar started by saying that because elephants are very holy to us. I mean, they are in fact it's almost, I mean, we revere it as God. How can we do this? And somebody piped in, and in the question and answer, and they said that but that's a very Hindu story, right? I mean, that you have the elephant god and things like that. For any other religion, it doesn't mean anything. So somebody very ably pointed out to say it doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is it's an animal of the wild. It's a living, thriving personality, and it deserves all the respect that you can give. So on that note, I would like to start by saying that this interaction with you is just to engage people and to dip into our wonderful mythology and our wonderful stories. It could be from folklore, anything. I mean, if anybody has any idea, they could just pipe in, let us know. But we will dip into our beautiful mythology, which has always revered the elephant, both as a god, as a vehicle for gods, and as also as a friend of the human being in various in helping and assisting us in various walks of life, right? So welcome again, Shiv Simha, and it's a pleasure to be chatting with you on the Rare India platform today. And thank you for doing this for us, as you always do. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shobha and Rare India, for giving me this honor to be part of this beautiful day. And as you very correctly pointed out, an important point that, this country today that we know as India, which was known as Bharatavarsha, it respects every single, not only living organism, but also non-living things. I mean, elephants, dogs, parrots, everyone is worshipped. And in fact, towards the south of India, we have on Vijayadashmi the Ayudha Puja, which is celebrated towards the north as the Vishwakarma Puja on another day. But all, things that we use, they are also worshipped, like our TV, fridge, and, everything that we use.
Yes.
So I'm very honored that we are going to talk about elephants because they are a personal favorite and there is one right behind.
Yes, I can see. Yes, yeah.
So I'm just excited to get going.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Shiv, just like we spoke about this, and the way we'll go about this interaction with you is to delve into stories from mythology, right? One of the first ones being you told me when, and I called it the Gajaraj stories from Shivasimha, because you mentioned how important a Gajaraj or an elephant was to a kingdom, and how he was revered by the kings. And two things you mentioned, that both in the sthapana of a temple and in a king's cavalry, it was essential for them to respect and revere an elephant, and any mistreatment, any ill treatment to the elephants was actually not taken kindly, and they feared the wrath of the gods, right? So let's begin with that element of our mythology, please.
So firstly, an elephant, one of the most common tattvas that we would have seen in most houses, is Gaja Lakshmi. Goddess Lakshmi, who is the goddess of fortune, prosperity, and contentment, flanked by two elephants. So the elephant or Gaja is a symbol of prosperity, and it is a symbol of Rajyam, or a king, a kingdom. So the way elephants are treated in a kingdom will in turn dictate, you can say, like today we talk of Newton's third law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. This was already established here. Cause and effect. You do something, you get it back. So the way you keep your elephants, whether you keep them happy, whether you keep them healthy, or are they being stuffed into inhuman conditions, or probably made to beg on the streets, etc. That will dictate the health of a nation. This is there very clearly in the Shastras, and it is also a very key element of Artha Shastram and for the kings. For example, it is clearly mentioned. See, anything that is born has to drop its body. So if an elephant dies a natural death, it is offered in India, a proper funeral that is offered to a human being with mantra chanting, and its body is burnt. But if an elephant dies a torturous death, see, in nature, an elephant would never die a torturous death. Like you don't have. There was a recent incident in the certain part of a country wherein we woke up to the news of some firecracker that the elephant ate. Whether it happened by mistake or purpose, that is a total different thing. But I'm giving an example like that. Many elephants get caught in traps. This doesn't hold good for that Rajyam. For the kingdom where an elephant dies a torturous death, it doesn't hold good for that particular kingdom. This is very clearly mentioned in the Shastras. So, worshipping a Gaja, taking care of them. See, they are, as per, if you see, they are wild animals. But if you are going to bring them into the kingdom, take care of them. Look after their needs. Do not torture them. Otherwise, we will have to, as you very correctly said, rather than bearing the wrath of the gods, we will have to pay for the actions that we did.
Yeah.
So this is a very important aspect of keeping elephants happy, healthy, and most importantly contented. Because if they shed tears, let me rephrase it, even if they shed tears of unhappiness, we first worship Ganesha, and then there's a 15-day break of the Pitru Paksha, and then we worship the Divine Mother. So you have to first worship the elephant tattva, then only can you worship the Divine Mother, who is within you in the form of the Kundalini Shakti that we talk about.
Correct.
But how do we worship Ganesha? We make a murti, we do the puja, and then we do visarjan. That is, we put the murti in water with honors. We just go and throw it and fling it on the road or something.
Correct.
So if you honor Ganesha, Devi will rise in a very happy way. And by Devi, we refer to the Prakriti, the nature principle, nature principle. But if you are going to ill-treat Ganesha, I don't think any mother will like to watch her child being ill-treated. So the Devi will arise, but maybe let's say in a way that probably mankind cannot handle. We are going through one such awakening right now.
Correct.
Through the form of this COVID and all.
Correct. Fantastic. And one of the things again when we spoke about was that in temple sthapanas or the role of an elephant is very important.
According to our Shastras, the Ramayana says there are 4 elephants that uphold the earth.
Yes.
In the 4 directions.
That is the. Thank you for the quote. Thank you for the quote.
It's one of my personal favorites. It's an honor again. Virupaksha, Mahapadma, Saumanasa, and Bhadra. These are 4 elephants who take care of the 4 corners. In other words, you are talking about the importance of nature over here. That the directions are connected to the 4 elephants. So, in a temple, an elephant is integral for the prosperity of the temple. In fact, there is every 12 years, 12 because the planet Jupiter has a 12-year cycle. So every 12 years, temples are supposed to be renovated, wherein it is known as the Kumbha Abhisheka, wherein the whole temple undergoes renovation. It is recharged. You can say, like recharging our phones or body, the temple is recharged. So an elephant plays an important role in the day-to-day puja, wherein there's a special hour known as the Gaja Puja. So the temple elephant will be worshipped as the god or the goddess himself. To give an example, there's a very famous temple in Kanchipuram known as Kanchi Kamakshi, wherein the Divine Mother is worshipped as Kamakshi. So that elephant is known as Kamakshi.
Yes.
So she is worshipped as the goddess herself.
Absolutely.
So an elephant not only is worshipped outside in the forest, not only is it important for a kingdom, it is also worshipped in a temple because it stands for the prosperity of that land. So any harm to the elephant reflects on the prosperity of that part of the country, nation, world.
That's wonderful. For those of you listening in, and thank you for joining in today, Shivasimha is a storyteller and he has great knowledge. I think he's an old soul and his knowledge stems from, from his understanding and his insights from previous births, because I doubt if someone so young can literally pick up. I think he picked up from where he left off in his last birth, and his holdover stories and the way he connects it with urban and modern living is something that is really fantastic, which is why we refer back to him again and again when we talk about, especially when Rare India, and personally when I talk about any behavioral changes that we need to go, because my belief is that all we are doing is going back to the traditions that we have within us. We've just forgotten it. And my endeavor with Rare, and my endeavor by talking to great people like Shivasimha is basically to rejig your memories, to dive into your own into your own memory banks, to know that these are attributes, these are lessons and stories that we have learned growing up, right? And it's a part of our living and lifestyles, and we just need to refer back to them, and voila, we have a very gentle, a very insightful, and a very harmonious lifestyle awaiting us. Shivasimha, another favorite of mine is the the story of the Gajendra Moksha. We were talking about the famous elephants of Indian mythology, and one of them, of course, is from Mahabharata. So can we talk about him, Ashwadhama? It would be interesting to see how Ashwadhama was viewed as very crucial to the twist in the tale in Mahabharata.
Very kind words and amazing questions. So in the Mahabharata, had it not been for a key elephant, we wouldn't have had, the very purpose of Mahabharata or Shri Krishna was to, as you said, going back to the roots, pulling out the old weeds of adharma and injustice and planting in new seeds. So Guru Dronacharya, even though he was a very learned guru and he was a preceptor, he chose to take the side of injustice with the Kauravas. And because he was the teacher of the, all of them, the Pandavas and Kauravas, he was literally, he couldn't be vanquished. So, and you see, deep within, even they will wonder, how do you kill your own guru? So, he had great attachment for his son, who was known as Ashwatthama. And we can say more than attachment, we can say it was an obsession, and in fact, he had, even though Ashwatthama was born to a tradition of knowledge, because of the pampering, he became a spoiled child, because he took certain very wrong decisions later. To get to put in, to allow Dronacharya to pass on so that the war can reach an end. The Pandavas were asked to kill an elephant known as Ashwatthama, and this was to be conveyed to Dronacharya, that Ashwatthama has died. So that will bring in, because for Dronacharya, as I said, it was more of an obsession, my son. And so, with due honors, there was a Gaja sacrifice done, and Krishna asked Yudhishthir to come and tell, because Yudhishthir is someone who never lies. So Yudhishthir came and told Ashwatthama died. But whether it is an elephant or a man, that by the time that line was told, there were drums being beaten. So Dronacharya then got Vairagya so that he could be, he could be vanquished, because otherwise the war would not end. Yes. So if you see, the elephant played a very important role over here. Because had it not been for him, the Mahabharata war wouldn't have ended in 18 days, it would have gone on for, God knows how long. So again, there in the Mahabharata, the elephant plays a very important role. We will later, for those who are joining, just to keep you hooked, we will see a love story with an elephant later, a very key story with a love story.
Oh, that's lovely.
But first, we are just covering these aspects.
Even I didn't know this. Yeah.
So let's
let's talk about Gajendra Moksha, and I am going to have this lovely image of the Gajendra Moksha in the background. So let's hear the story of Gajendra Moksha. It's again one of my favorite stories.
That's a wonderful picture, one of my personal favorites. You can see the picture of this elephant suffering.
Yes.
You can see tears coming out of its eyes.
Yeah.
And the divine in the form of Narayan reaching out to him. So the Gajendra Moksham comes in one of our Puranas known as the Srimad Bhagavat Puran. And the Srimad Bhagavat Puran primarily describes Narayana, Shri Krishna. In fact, as you very rightly said, yesterday some parts of India celebrated Janmashtami, today some parts of India are celebrating Janmashtami. So the legend goes that a king was cursed to become an elephant, because when a rishi came to the kingdom, the Raja was sitting in meditation and he didn't get up to receive the rishi. So the rishi thought, how arrogant are you? I have come, a rishi has come and you're sitting like that. But he didn't realize that the king was actually in meditation of the divine,
Of the Lord. Yeah.
of the Lord. But then he cursed in a hurry that, you will be born as an elephant because you're so proud. But we will later see, are elephants really proud, or are they the very epitome of humility
Patience.
and
Yeah,
gentleness?
humility and gentleness.
Patience.
Yeah. Yes.
Gentleness. And he was later born as an elephant. So this is again a wake-up call for us. You may be very learned, but why do we expect that someone should give me respect? Like how the Rishi said, you did not give me respect. So if you see in today's world, most of our problems come because of this. This person did not give me this respect or that respect. When he was reborn as an elephant, he was reborn as the king of elephants, known as Gajendra. And he had a huge family, parents, a beautiful she-elephant for a wife, many children. And because he was the king, he was the best among the kings. And he had a huge, you can say, a huge band of followers, you can see, his own herd of elephants. So they would go every day, and one day it so happened that he went to a particular lake. They'd never been there before. Lots of lotuses to eat. Lotuses for elephants are like, cheese burst pizza for us. So for that, lotuses for elephants. They just entered the pond and they frolicked. And suddenly the elephant felt a tug. And he saw that there was a gigantic crocodile pulling him down. Now he was the king of elephants. So he pulled up. But the crocodile pulled down. And how much ever the tug of war went, even though being the king of elephants, he couldn't, overpower the crocodile. And he trumpeted loudly. So his wife, his parents, everyone came to his rescue. Some of them tried stamping the crocodile. Some of them tried pulling Gajendra outside. But try as they may, they couldn't pull the hapless Gajendra caught in this mouth of this. In fact, these elephants trampling on the crocodile was like a spa for the crocodile. It went for a massage for him. So even though they wanted to save him, they couldn't save him. And the elephant suddenly, they say he remembered his previous birth as a devotee. And he just plucked a lotus outside. As you can see in the picture, in the trunk he holds a lotus, and he just calls out to, the divine. Like we also do in life. When we have no one, we call out to the divine. And it is said the Lord immediately appeared and released Gajendra. And if you see, the word uses Gajendra Moksha. Gajendra, the Lord picked up Gajendra, like how, as a mother you would know if your child is wounded, you'd pick up the child and embrace it. So the Lord embraced the elephant and put him and kept him inside his heart, merged him. Like, there's this famous Bollywood song, Tum Rang Sharbaton Ka, Tu Meethe Kaat Ka Paan. Like they just merged with each other.
With each other. Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
wonderful.
It just means in life, the elephant stands. See, such a powerful elephant the elephant is. There's a beautiful metaphor that is there. The elephant is none other than you and me. In the Gajendra Moksham story, the elephant is you and me. Many times the crocodile comes in several forms in our life. It may be a financial issue, it may be an emotional issue, physical issue. It can be sometimes a combi, like McDonald's package with this, with that, it may be a package deal of problems that may be pulling us down. So try as they may, our family may not be literally able to help us. They may be able to give us moral support. So it's just that we have to reach out to the divine within us and harness our power and have faith and hope no matter what. So the Gajendra here is the struggle that you and I face every single moment of our life.
Beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. And a friend of ours who runs a lodge called Solitude, he says wonderful storytelling. We have this lovely question from Kashish. He says, in today's time and on this Elephant Day, how can the youth become able to apply and endeavor the elephant or the Ganesha principle in their lives? We tend to lose our center and act quite foolish. Yeah, so I think that's our next question when we talk about the Lord Ganesha and what Lord Ganesha stands as a metaphor for us in our daily life and why he becomes the first god we worship. I think it was also Shiva's blessing that he'll become the first god that we will worship as the seasons turn, right? And all our festivals begin with Ganesh Chaturthi. So over to you, Shivasimha. It's over to you.
So the Ganesha Tattva is seen all over the world, but we are blessed here to be able to celebrate Ganesha in its true principle. I would like all of you to just think for a moment. If you see, as you very beautifully said, he is a metaphor. We say that goddess, the divine mother, the Shakti Tattva fashioned this form of Vinayaka from the turmeric that she had applied on her body. And when the head was beheaded, an elephant head was given in place of the human head. So I would just like everyone to think, why an elephant head? You could have given a lion head because the lion is, a king of the
jungle, yeah.
Jungle. Tiger head, peacock head because peacock again is a very eagle. So there are so many animals and birds. Why an elephant? The elephant is the most powerful animal. It can break down a tree in one jiffy. Like how, if you have seen the movie Bhool Bhulaiya, she just lifts up the bed like that. Like that, an elephant can just uproot a tree. But it doesn't go about uprooting trees and destroying things. It never destroys nature. Unless, we as humans probably inflict some torture. An elephant on its own won't go about destroying trees. So the elephant here, the Gaja here, the Gajendra here, Gajaraja here, stands for the fact that no matter how powerful you may be, no matter whatever talents you may have, are we using that to destroy? Are we using that for creativity, or are we using that to pull down things? This is a very pertinent question, that the elephant is the symbol of power, yet it is the symbol of gentleness. That's why he or she is known as the gentle giant. So Ganesha, that is why if you see, he has an amazing elephant head and a human body.
Beautiful. Yeah, and so we were talking about his trunk, we were talking about his ears, and so each one of them, spells a model, or each one of them spells one attribute that we should work towards, right?
Today, corporate gurus talk about listening, the power of effective listening. So Ganesha says, listen a lot. Pay attention, not only to the words, but also to the body language. Today, most of the problems that are there in relationships or at your workplace are because we don't listen properly, or we don't listen to the unsaid. So Ganesha says, listen more. And if you see, the mouth of the elephant is covered. Elephant is the only animal who has a covered mouth. If you see another animal like a lion or we ourselves, our mouth is out there in the open, but the elephant's mouth is covered. In other words, listen more, talk less. But when you talk so effectively.
Yeah.
So Ganesha is the highest management guru. And if you see another thing about his tusk, the elephant is again on a World Elephants Day. It's one of the most beautiful animals in having a tusk, which is just a modified tooth of it, which comes out. If you see Ganesha, we call him Ekadanta. He doesn't have two tusks. He has 1.5. One he has, the other half he broke for writing the Mahabharata. There are two beautiful tattvas that we need to apply in day-to-day life with Ganesha's Ekadanta. The first thing is, the right side of the brain controls your intelligence, your wisdom, and the left side controls emotions. So if you see, Ganesha has his right tusk intact And the left tusk he had broken half, and then he used it to write the Mahabharata. In other words, to answer the question that was raised also, how do we apply the Ganesh principle in day-to-day life, in day-to-day issues when they come up? Remember Ganesha. The moment you remember Ganesha, the right tusk is intact, the left tusk is half. Use the power of your wisdom, knowledge and intelligence to control your emotions. Many times we allow our emotions to run amok and we take some decision. And that probably may have not led, and it generally does not lead to probably very fruitful results. So every time you face a problem, remember Ganesha, use the right tusk of intelligence, wisdom, pause for a minute, press the pause button and use it to control emotions, and then take an apt decision to face whatever you have to face. That's why he is known as Vignaharta. That's why he removes all the obstacles.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. There's one question which says, what is your favorite elephant story?
My favorite elephant.
You're planning to tell a love story of elephants just now.
That is my favorite because it concerns Ganesha again. Ganesha's brother, Lord Kartikeya, there was a girl known as Valli. Valli means a root, an underground vegetable. So she was found among the underground vegetables. So her father called her Valli. So she grew up listening to his, the valor of Lord Kartikeya as to how he vanquished the demons. And the sons of Shiva and Shakti, if you see, while Ganesha is the cute one, Lord Subramanya is, you can say the handsome hunk.
Yeah, the macho
hunk. The guy with the six-pack abs, the army guy.
Yes, yeah.
So she wanted to marry him. So it is said he didn't want to marry her. He wanted to have a play. So, Lord, and she had taken it in her mind, she had taken a sankalpa, she had taken a vow that no man apart from Kartikeya will touch me. So now Lord Kartikeya wanted to break this. So what he did is he took the form of a very old man holding a stick, and he came in front of Valli. And Valli was in the habit of guarding her fields, to protect birds from eating up whatever they had. And this old man said, oh beautiful girl, can you just help me, cross this river? I'm very old. She said, of course, grandfather, but I will not catch your hand because I've taken this vow, that no man apart from Lord Kartikeya will touch me. So give me one end of your stick, I will hold the other end and I will help you cross. Now Kartikeya is like, how do I make her marry me? How do I woo her? So he immediately meditated on his brother. He's like, whenever you're in trouble, you call out to your big bro. So Lord Kartikeya also called out to his big bro. And his big bro took the form of a Gajaraja, an elephant. And he just came charging. And seeing this, Valli shrieked. And you suddenly see an elephant. She just caught hold of this old man. And she's like, someone save me. And it is said she immediately realized, oh my God, what have I done? I've ended up, I've broken my vow. And it
my
said,
own vow.
Lord Kartikeya then revealed his true form. The elephant revealed his true form to be Ganesha. So here, the elephant played a very key role between two lovers, to join two lovers.
Cupid.
So the elephant is not only Cupid.
Yeah.
He was not only, the elephant is not only the symbol of prosperity, kingdom, docility balanced with power, gentleness and love. Because, we say it is love that rules the world at the end of the day.
Thank you, Shivasimha. That was fantastic. And I think that's a great note on the World Elephant Day, because it is our duty to preserve and protect Mother Nature. All we need to do is dip into our traditional folklore, fall in love with our wild and our wonderful all over again. And thank you for joining us, and thank you for the wonderful stories you tell.
Thank you for
Shivasimha.
giving this honor. Thank you so much, Shobha. All the best with all your amazing ventures that you're doing. Shri Ganeshaya Namaha and happy Ganesh
Shri
Chaturthi
Ganeshaya.
in advance.
Chaturthi in advance.
Celebrating the Gajaraja Tattva. Thank you to all the listeners, and thank you, Shobha, for this opportunity and your valuable time and this platform. Wishing everyone Jai Shri Ganesha.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining in. Again, like I said, we posted a lot of stories. We had the wonderful Karthik Satyanarayana talk about the conservation aspect of it, and we had Shivasimha, tell us stories about from our own mythology and folklore about Ganesha, and why it has to be, loving animals has to be a part of our living. Please check, Shivasimha is there on Instagram as Shivasimha. He can be reached out at Shivasimha. While for anything that you would like to do for elephants, which are under the care of Karthikeya Satyanarayan in Wildlife SOS, you just log on to wildlifesos.org, and you please feel free to donate. There are 30 elephants with Wildlife SOS, and they could do with some care and love from all of you. Thank you so much, Shivasimha.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Thank you.